Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We're continuing to talk about, is Christian nationalism a good thing? Or we could call it, at this point, we're looking at what Christian nationalism has given us. What the concepts of our rights being given to us by God, the application of Scripture to government principles, how that has impacted us from that standpoint. And yesterday we talked about property rights, that in the Bill of Rights, they went further. In the Declaration, they said that we are created by God and are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Bill of Rights lists the additional rights that they believed were God-given. And one of the things that you see in the Bill of Rights is the concept of personal property and if you would, the dominion over your own property. Genesis 1:26, God said, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." You see, in this, God established ownership. God established ownership. Let them have dominion over everything, over all the earth. And with that, that was a new thing. The government has control. The bottom line, when you begin to move away from the concepts of the Bible and applying them to Scripture, you will notice everywhere in history where that happens, property rights are diminished. The right to own, the right to self-determination over your own property is diminished. Christian nationalism increased, if you would, the authority and the dominion over people's property. Anything that doesn't have those biblical principles, and I like to call them ecclesia principles, if it doesn't have it in that, then it begins to erode the ownership, and it puts it more in the collective. It puts it more in government, and it needs to be determined and used for how everyone thinks it should be. Well, there's concepts. One of the ecclesia principles that I teach, I don't talk about it as much because it takes a lot longer to explain it, but it is maintaining the tension between individual rights and corporate good, corporate benefit. And by corporate, I'm not talking about businesses. I'm talking about the good of the whole. There has to be a tension there between them constantly. There has to be a balance between them. Individual rights must be protected, but not protected to the point that other people are destroyed. And so there has to be a tension maintained there. But Christian nationalism has given us that concept of property rights. It increases the understanding of self-determination over your own property, over your own things. Everything else, other than biblical application of principles, always moves it more towards socialism. That's where it'll always go. It's the collective. It'll move it. Socialism is just a step short of communism. The end game of the whole thing is to move it to where there's a collective good, but there's always a group at the top determining what is best for everybody. And there's the problem. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Ecclesia Principles with Ray Eppard. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook on our Ray Eppard pages. This program was brought to you by Victory Worship Center and World Outreach. Services Sunday 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, 200 Hammond Lane, Stanton, Virginia.